Good morning. It is Wednesday, the 6th day of the year 2021. We are going to continue our study in the 29th chapter of Psalm. This is a chapter that is written by King David, and he spends a lot of this passage talking about the voice of God. It's interesting that he says so much about his voice because on Monday we talked about Genesis. We learned about how God spoke, and whatever he said happened. And because God created, he had dominion, he had authority, he had control over what he had created. And he set those stars. He separated the light from darkness. And he did that because he spoke it, he created it, he had authority over it. And today, David is reflecting on how terrifying and awesome and powerful God's voice is. And he uses a lot of references. For example, he says, "The voice of the Lord," in verse 9, "twists the mighty oaks and strips the forests bare." It says the Lord, his voice makes barren wilderness quake. The Lord shakes the wilderness of Kadesh. This is with his voice. He has authority over what he has created. It says in verse 5, "The voice of the Lord splits the mighty cedars." The cedars of Lebanon are what are in reference here, and those were known for being tall and strong and large trees. They were used for all of the important buildings, but David is saying God has control over those with just his voice. He doesn't have to come down and interact with it with his hands. He can speak and things happen. It says, "The voice of the Lord echoes above the sea. The God of glory thunders." And all of this, it's not to get us or the readers of this to fear God, to be afraid of his voice. But he starts out in verse 1, "Honor the Lord." Honor the Lord. Honor the Lord for his glory and strength. Honor the Lord for the glory of his name. And then he goes on and talks about all of these attributes of his voice. But he doesn't stay there. He doesn't just want you to think about how God spoke in creation and created everything. He doesn't want you to think, "Oh man, God is terrible. He is shattering trees. He is making mountains skip and jump like a young wild ox." He says, "The voice of the Lord strikes with bolts of lightning." Have you ever seen a lightning storm? If you have, they are amazing to watch. I love watching lightning. I love standing at the window or even going outside and watching it. And even though I am in awe, I'm a little scared and sometimes terrified when that lightning strikes and you can see it hit the ground a couple hundred yards away from you. You feel the shake of it, and it's a thunderous clap, almost deafening, and it's so bright it's almost blinding. King David is saying God's voice is like that. It's attractive, it's beautiful, and it's powerful. It's not something that we should be afraid of. But God is saying he can come, and God is light, and he can speak, and he can control, and has authority over his creation. But he ends, "The Lord gives his people strength. The Lord blesses them with peace." He describes God's voice as being powerful and being able to do all these things, like taking huge mountains and making them be able to jump and leap and have fun and frolic, and being able to destroy trees that are mighty and strong. But God says, "I will give you my strength, and I will bless you." The strength that is in his voice, God has for us. It's amazing to think about what God can do. It's amazing to think about what God can do for us, in us, and through us. And David, he's just taking a very small part of God, his voice, and trying to give it a little bit of human terms so that we can understand God just a little bit more. But through it all, God wants us to honor Him, to glorify Him. And in so doing, God wants to give us a blessing of peace. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.